before the execution could begin. Cromwell appointed his staunch ally, the merchant banker Richard Gresham, soon to be Lord Mayor of London, although he was one of the most hated men in the city, to take charge of security and make sure only those whom the king wished to see his wife die should be allowed to enter, because of the wondering of the people. Equally, Henry, who was planning everything from afar in the minutest detail, intended everyone who mattered to be there. Given the initial uncertainty as to the date and time, Kingston worried that, if we have not an hour certain as it may be known in London, I think here will be but few, and I think a reasonable number were best. On that score, he need not have feared. A man not without some human sympathy, Kingston tried to divert Anne's attention from the muddle over the timetable. "It should be no pain," he answered. "It is so subtle." "I heard say," she replied, "the executioner was very good, and I have a little neck." At this, she put her hand about it, laughing heartily. All through her life, she had never lacked courage, and it did not fail her now. "I have seen many men and also women executed," Kingston informed Cromwell, "and all they, i.e. all of them, have been in great sorrow, and to my knowledge this lady hath much joy and pleasure in death." With her marriage and her reputation destroyed, Anne had put her faith in a redeeming Christ. By Friday morning, everything was ready. Anne had spent a second night with Skip, kneeling in prayer, too exhausted to sleep. As dawn broke, Kingston reappeared to tell her she would die that day and to give her a purse containing £20, which she was to distribute, according to tradition, as alms before her death. Sometime after 8 a.m., he returned. The moment was approaching. Anne dressed herself with the greatest care for her final appearance on a public stage. As a teenager at the court of Queen Claude of France, she had learnt about the power and symbolism of beautiful clothes. The occasion demanded sobriety, not flamboyance, and so today she chose a gown of grey damask lined with fur, over which she wore an ermine mantle. Her choice is telling, because dark or neutral shades of silk or satin rarely found a place in her wardrobe. She had never worn grey or black, colours too closely associated with her predecessor as Queen, Catherine of Aragon. She then tied up her still lustrous dark brown hair, over which she wore an English gable headdress, another unusual choice for her, as she tended to prefer the more fashionable and flattering French hoods. We should not overlook the significance of her hood. Anne had been a Francophile from a young age. Her tastes and values were radically different to those of previous royal consorts. But this was an occasion to protest her loyal Englishness. Attended by Lady Boleyn and the 3 other ladies, she left her privy chamber for the last time and went downstairs into the open air. Crossing the inner courtyard of the palace area out of the Queen's lodgings, she passed through the Cold Harbour Gate and around the White Tower to arrive at the Green before the House of Ordnance. This was the place where the King's soldiers often practised archery and shooting, and where a new scaffold had been hastily erected. For today, the killing would be real. No more than 3 feet high, the scaffold was mounted by 4 or 5 steps. It ought to have been draped in black canvas, but whether the Tower officials had managed to do this in time is uncertain. Around it ranged rows of hastily constructed seating for the more important spectators, notably Anne's stepson, the 17-year-old Henry Fitzroy, Duke of Richmond, the King's illegitimate son, perhaps there to represent his father. Anne had treated Fitzroy badly, and he was going to enjoy seeing her die. Close by sat the Duke of Suffolk, Sir Thomas Audley, the Lord Chancellor, Cromwell, and most of the King's privy councillors, supported by members of the House of Lords.